It's Tuesday and it's 6 o'clock, and you know what time is it? It's time for the fountain where it runneth over. Thank you so much, guys, and you are welcome. I'm Thabiso Mantjela, and to our new subscribers, thank you so much and welcome to our family. And to our old subscribers, thank you so much for being part of our family, and thank you so much for the love and feedback. And if you are watching this video, please don't forget to click on the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you see what uploads we bring to you. So remember, guys, we are in the mental health month, and I know that I said I'll have an expert today to discuss mental health issues, but I thought we should do a Facebook Live next week where we'll have various people rather than just one person, have various people. And also for logistics sake, I believe that we can do a live, and a live is much more better, where people can interact better and where people can ask questions on the live. So please follow me on all my social media platforms where we'll be, I'll be updating you when we'll be having the live. So thank you so much. So and thank you so much for the feedback that we had on the message that we had last week about the Mouse Church, and it resonated with so many people, because so many people, I think, have a little bit fed up with how church runs these days. And also I think it resonated with people who haven't been to church for many years, and sometimes it resonated with people who have been to church and who are even now going to church, but who feel like they're outsiders in church and that they don't particularly belong, because there's this class of elite people who are running everything Esondoing. I'll be expanding it and under the subject called the Treehouse believers. I believe that there are people who just are treehouse believers. They like observing from afar. They don't want to have a one-on-one interaction with Christ. They just like to observe from afar and just live that kind of life, because also they don't want to be accountable. They don't want to they don't want to take responsibility, and they don't want to be involved. And I think for us to reform church as an institution, it will need everybody to take responsibility. It will need individuals to take responsibility for the kind of church that we want, particularly as young people. It will take each and every one of us to occupy every space, whether it's in the ushering team or whether it's in the worship team, whether it's in the counseling team, wherever we are. We need to occupy the spaces in church for church to work for us, because the reason church doesn't work for us, it's because we somehow believe that it is not our responsibility. And those are the kind of treehouse believers that I want to address today, because it is important that we become involved in everything that happens in church, particularly the change that we need to see in church, because as we have established in the last video, that church needs to reform. But how do we reform it as young people? How do we get involved as young people? Today I have the solution for that. And because last time I feel like I was I really brought I was really laying out the case, and I didn't really bring out much solutions. But today will be solution based into looking at how we can reform church and how we can be the change that we want to see in the church. So for some context, I'll be reading from the book of Luke 19. I'll be looking at the 5th chapter, where it says, the 5th chapter says, Luke 19 verse 5 says that, and when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry up and come down, for I must stay at your house today. May God bless the reading of his word. And for this particular text, I want to give a shout out to, people at my church, Beam of Hope. I believe that they are a great inspiration to what we have today. So here we see a very, I think complex man. I think Zacchaeus is a very complex man in this text. He's a very, very complex man. Number one, he's a tax collector. Number two, he's rich. But lastly, he's a very short man. And on the third part, I would relate to him in so many ways. But the first part is that he's a tax collector, and the reason why being a tax collector is very controversial in this society is because tax collectors used to take people's money to give it to the Roman Empire. Therefore, they were looked at as people who were enablers of colonization in that time. And you would liken them to apartheid police during the apartheid years, where they were enablers of the system. They were part of the system. They were part of, and although he was a Jew, but he was somebody who was he used to enable the system to work against the Jews. Therefore, he used to take people's money. That's why he was such a controversial man. But secondly, he was a rich man in a very poor society. And that is often the problem, people have with rich people, especially in a society where there's a little bit of an imbalance. People don't like rich people. People feel like rich people don't understand them. People feel like rich people don't, rich people can't tell them anything. Therefore, that is the problem that we're having with Zacchaeus. And lastly, that he's a short man and he's not a man of good stature, and he's a short man, and in that, I think in a context that he wasn't probably regarded as much, because he didn't have the right physique, and like David, obviously we realize in the Bible that God says to someone, look for somebody. I'm not looking for stature. I'm looking for a heart. I'm looking for somebody who's right in the heart. And that is the kind of situation that we find in this context, that although Zacchaeus was so flawed in so many ways, and he was despised by society in so many ways, Jesus passes through Jericho, and as he's approaching, Zacchaeus hears that Jesus is on the way. And as Zacchaeus hears that Jesus is on the way, Zacchaeus, being as rich as he is, being as influential as he is, being the kind of man that he is in society, he could have asked for a one-on-one with Jesus. He could have just said, Jesus, I want you to come to my house, because of the influence that he had. But despite all of that, he climbs onto a tree to see Jesus as he is approaching, so that Jesus can see him, because he believed that if he could only see Jesus, if he could only meet the man, he would be fine. Everything in his life would work out. And Zacchaeus takes it upon himself to ride on the tree, to look at Jesus one-on-one, to have that experience with Jesus on top of a tree. And although I admire how persistent he is and his desire, the Treehouse experience is problematic in one way. It's because what it does is that I think it's a conformative kind of approach, where he wants to be like everybody else. He wants to be on the same level with everybody else. He thinks if he can be on the same level as everybody else, he can touch the hem of Jesus. And that's the approach that most believers are having today. They feel like if they could be the same as everybody, if they can pretend to be like everybody else, then they can somehow, get the attention of Jesus. They have their fake it until you make it kind of approach, where they feel like if maybe they pretend to live a certain kind of lifestyle, they'll be accepted as Sontoeni, and they will have an impact. Their relationship with Jesus will have an impact. But this is why this is problematic. This is problematic in a sense that Jesus wants us to come to him as we are. Jesus wants us to come to him no matter how broken we are, no matter how short we think we are, no matter how invalid we think we are, no matter how much we think we are. Jesus wants us to come to him with our hearts. All of these things are external factors. All these things Zacchaeus thought were important. They were not important. They were really, really not important. How short he was not important. What was important was his heart when he approached Jesus. And that's why I think Jesus noticed him. And he said, listen, Zacchaeus, get off that tree. Get off that high horse. Get off where you are. Get off that lifestyle. And the most disheartening thing is that people often try to live a certain life to pretend. And I think social media is one of the things that I think perpetuate that idea, right? Where people think they need to pretend. So people, on Instagram post a certain kind of lifestyle so that they can fit in. People post, certain kind of things so that they can fit in, And there is nothing as dangerous as people who seek clout, because you will do certain things wrong and you'll make certain mistakes and you'll live a fake lifestyle and will never know who you are, and you'll struggle with so much because you feel like people need to accept you if you are a certain way. But here's the thing, Jesus wants you to come as you are, and that is the kind of approach that we've lost in church. People don't want people to come as they are. They feel like we are all pretending and we are all, I think, living up to a standard that is so, we are living up to a standard that we all can maintain. So everybody is trying to set the standard, but the standard is here and we understand that we are not perfect. So everybody is seeking to be perfect to show that they are perfect in church, but we are all not perfect. And that is the kind of standard that has been set. But Jesus says to Zacchaeus, listen, get off that tree because I want to come to your house and be a visitor. And the book of Revelation says that, behold, I knock at the door. If anyone hears my voice, let them open the door so that I can come into his heart. And that's what God is saying today, that let me come into your own heart, because you will not be able to reach out to me if you want to pretend to live a certain kind of lifestyle. Ngikufuna unjalo, I want you as you are, so that I can deal with you. I want you with your flaws. I want you with your stature. I will use you as you are. Even if you think you're not worthy, even if you don't think you can make it, I want you as you are. And I think that's what I believe that's what I've been, ramming down as I've been, talking over the past few weeks, that God wants us as we are. We don't need to pretend. We don't need to, by face. We don't need to do anything else but come to God as we are. So the most interesting thing is that the people who were there to go to look for to look at Jesus, the crowd that was there to look at Jesus and to see Jesus speak and to hear him speak, now they're very disgruntled. So now they're very agitated that why is Jesus even going to this man? Because this man is not even worth it. This man is a sinner. The Bible says, I think in the book of verse 8, it says, in the book of verse 7, sorry, sorry, not in the book of verse 7, sorry, in verse 7 it says that they're very disgruntled. They were like, Ufuna no Zacchaeus no mut, because this man is a sinner. This man is not even worth Jesus' attention. Why is Jesus going to his house? Why is Jesus going into his house? Why is Jesus trying to use him? Why is Jesus trying to speak to him? And that is what we have been doing to people for so long, that we've been trying to, we have been trying to manage people's behavior. We've been trying to manage how people do things, such that we're asking God, why is God using this particular person? Because Siamazel, we know what clubs he goes to, we know how many boyfriends he has, we know how many girlfriends he has, we know his body count. But here is Jesus using this kind of person, and that is the kind of people that we have become. We have come to police people's behaviors in society, that people can't approach church and people can't come to church because they know that their behavior is definitely going to be policed. And people are not going to change because their behavior has been policed, but people are going to change out of conviction. And we need to create room. We need to make room for people to be convicted by God himself. We need to just preach the word and let the word convict people. Because if we are going to police people's behavior, we are not going to change people's by policing their behavior. Never. That never happens. People will only pretend in front of our eyes, and when they go back home, they live that kind of lifestyle because you have policed them so much, such that they can't be open with you, such that they can't, have a one-on-one relationship, so that they can't even tell you the sins that they're struggling with, because you have begun to police their behavior and you are holding people to a standard that you can't even maintain. You want people to be perfect, but you can't be perfect as well. So that is the kind of church that we have today. But Zacchaeus tries to make amends. Zacchaeus tries so much to make amends, and he says, no, I'll give what I have to the poor. I'll do the best that I can, to be accepted by society. And that is not what we are supposed to do. What we are supposed to do is give God our heart. And the standard is the word. The word of God is the standard. Everything else is just an extra. The rules at church are just an extra. The standard is the word. The standard is what God had said. And God is saying right now, that is the standard, and that's what we should hold ourselves to. The standard, which is the word of God, nothing else. Jesus says something very powerful and something that I want you to leave you by. It says that Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, since he is also a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man come to seek and to save the lost." Jesus has come to seek and save the lost. All of these other things don't matter. Jesus wants to just come into your house and save you. So if you can just give your heart to Christ. Don't give it to people. Don't give it to your pastor. Don't give it to your youth leader. Don't give it to anybody else but God. Because God is coming to save. He's coming to save the lost. And if you feel like you are lost, come to Christ. He will save you. Nobody else will save you. No kind of policing, and we are living in this world where, churches feel like they need to micromanage our spiritual lives. No kind of micromanaging will save people. Only Christ. No kind of policing will save people. Only Christ. No kind of bashing will save people. Only Christ. Only Christ can save people. So if we have a heart approach, and this is the solution. Once we have a heart approach, once we come to God as we are and we offer him our heart so that he can change it, then what we are doing is, once we render our heart to God, God is able to change it, is able to change our behaviors, and we are able to come into church with changed hearts. We are able to come to church with genuine hearts, and we are able to come to church with genuine approach and genuine intentions. And once we do that, I promise you, church will be a better place. If everybody had a genuine heart, if everybody else rendered their heart to Christ, we'd all have a different experience with Christ. Because once I come to church and I see Thabiso, I know that Thabiso will, help me have a different, relationship with Christ. Because his heart has been through the changing process of the cross. God has changed his heart. That's why Thabiso will approach me in a sincere manner. That's why Thabiso will not try to judge me. That's why Thabiso will not try to police my behavior. Because Thabiso understands that he's imperfect. Thabiso understands that only God can change. And Thabiso understands that church is a place where everybody is welcome. So that is the kind of church that we want in the society. So thank you so much, guys, for joining us today, and please follow us on all our social media platforms down below so that you can have an update on the live that we're gonna have sometime next week, because I believe it's gonna be powerful, I believe that it's gonna be wonderful, and I believe that it's gonna be enlightening. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful day.